I have one quite important question that's following up to Volker's presentation right now. I mean, Volker, you clearly pointed out that we have to move fast and that we have not moved fast enough yet. We have to move fast in deploying a significant number of zero emission vehicles, be that batteries or fuel cells, by the year 2030. And we're as we all know, by looking at the calendar, we only have a good 7 years to go. If we look at that goal and taking the truck sector, if we look at having several 100,000s of trucks on the road by 2030, what do we need to have in place on the infrastructure side, on the regulatory side, and what are the I'd say, most important areas where we have to catch up right now? What are the most important action areas to take?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this question, since this is very, very important to achieve our targets and our goals. So my CEO has a simple equation, a simple formula. He says there are 3 factors we need. The first are the vehicles, the second are the framework conditions, so meaning achieving TCO parity, and the third is availability of infrastructure. And if we have all these 3 factors, then we achieve our target. But if one factor is 0, then the total equation is 0. And this is the problem. And we can say from our side, we will bring our products and our offerings on the market. So the vehicles will be not the bottleneck. So this is our job, and we will do very strongly our job. The other point is when it comes to achieving cost parity to diesel trucks, to the conventional trucks, then we have to change the framework we have currently on the market. So the most important thing, and now this is really a critical point in the current situation, but we have to put a price on CO2. And this price has to increase stepwise, plannable from year to year. In the end, it's very simple. If we do not want to use diesel and fossil energy anymore, we have to make this so expensive, then there is not an attractive way to use this, and that the other options, the alternatives, becoming cost attractive and cost competitive. So we need a CO2 price, and we need to follow up this. I know there are some activities, and we have already a small CO2 price here in Germany, and they are planning to introduce this all over Europe, in the European Union. But this is a very controversial topic, and we see a very controversial discussion, even more in the current situation with high energy prices. There's a second major issue we have to include, and we see that this will not happen in time currently. This is a CO2-based toll system for charging the use of motorways. So currently we have more or less in all countries a toll system in place for trucks, but not differentiated according to the CO2 emissions. This can be done since there is a regulation, an overarching regulation, I would say, from the European Union, that the member states can include such a CO2-based toll. But we see only in a few countries like Germany, Netherlands, Austria, and Sweden that they will do this in the next years. So there's a high risk that we do not have an advantage in terms of the cost of using the toll. By the way, when we talk about Switzerland has a very expensive toll system to using their streets, not only motorway, all streets, and zero emission vehicles are 100% exempted. So this is a clear lever, and we should follow this to bring the alternatives in cost parity. And then the last factor, and I think we talk a lot about this, It's about the infrastructure, the fueling infrastructure and the charging infrastructure. And there we saw from Paul the targets of the AFIR. Yes, it is good because it's the first time mandatory targets for the member states. But to be very clear, to achieve the Paris Agreement goals, this is by far not sufficient to serve the needed fleet of zero-emission vehicles we have to have in 2030.
Thank you, Volker. Very clear. So the bottom line is the pressure is not seemingly high enough yet. And we need to keep it going. Dirk, you had raised your hand either with a question or with a direct comment.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity. First of all, I totally agree with all the arguments Volker brought into the discussion. But you are asking for how can we arrange the ramp up, or better said, the scale up of the business. And I definitely have to say, because I'm on the way now for 4 years, the last 4 years, speaking loud and louder, especially to our government, just to pave the road for us, especially in terms of regulatory issues. That's one side. And on the other hand side, if we talk about ramp up economically, then we need to talk about the situation about subsidies. The program we do have in Germany is quite a good one, because we are talking about 80% difference of costs between diesel and the fuel cell electrical truck. But the usage of that subsidy program is, to be honest, a mess. Nobody is safe in terms of calculation and planning issues, because we have to wait for any approvals of the government for months. And even in the situation we are in terms of supply chain, means in purchase activities, it is a question of economy of scale, and nobody has a deep pocket, like, for example, sorry to say that, like Daimler, Volker. But we don't have that, and if we want to make sure that we can deliver our customers in time, with that dynamic I already described in my presentation, we need to have more safety, and we need to have clearness. And Volker just mentioned the Swiss program, which is really a good one, by having the opportunity to reduce, for example, taxes for 6 years with a general sum of around, I think, 60,000 euro a year. It makes calculation safe for forwarders or fleet owners in the business. And this is something which need to be done in Germany as soon as possible. I know that my colleagues are on the way, but you said it already, Mr. Albrecht. We still have 7 years' time to meet the climate targets, and it cannot be done, because I'm absolutely sure we cannot jump over that hurdle in that time. It's not possible. If the OEM are going to implement FCEVs into the market starting in 2027, there is no way in the long haulage to do it. And the last sentence to infrastructure and appliances. It's always the same story. We are talking about hen and egg all the time. But the question is what can be done, and who is encouraged enough to do something. And this is what we did, just to say we have to do something. We have to act entrepreneurial. Yeah, that's what I have to say. And it's only a question of courage, and it's a question of doing things. Nike would say, just do it. And this is what we did in the past. And I'm happy, meanwhile, that my colleagues from the OEM business are on the same way. And as I said, I undersign every argument Volker is just bringing in his presentation, but we have to do it much faster. So, Volker, again, sorry to say that the OEM are like tankers, just to use the picture from the maritime business. and we are so-called speedboats. We can change our direction immediately. You cannot do, but we need to do it, and we should talk to each other how we can act and how we can proceed, even by finding, for example, same approaches in infrastructure, for example, because the market is deciding what will be taken in the future because of TCO argues, and that's it. I'm deciding only because of TCO, because the margins in fleet owners' business is quite small. It's much smaller than that what other businesses can do.
Thank you very much, Dirk, for the clear message, and I think the final message that we can all take and should all take into the lunch break is, yes, it's time to act, and we have to be faster and probably also more committed, not just on the industrial side, but that reflects on OEMs, governments, infrastructure providers alike, as you pointed out, Volker. So one cannot do without the other. We'll be looking at infrastructure after the lunch break. We'll have almost an hour to refresh. So I hope all of you will be back at 1 p.m. sharp for the second part of the event. Thank you so much for the time being, for listening, for engaging, for your presentations, and we'll see you all in 56 minutes. Thank you.